Listen, I'm using that tone because clearly what they said is not true. And no one will come out. Where's President Obama? Let's hear it. Let's have the explanation. Was it misleading? Were you mistaken? What? Instead, we've got Carney trying to tell us not to believe our lying eyes and lying ears. Again, the IRS predicted this back in 2010. They said that 10 million or more would lose their health care, in part because so many plans did not meet the new federal guidelines, Obamacare. But during the debate that remade our entire health care system, which never had the support of the majority of the American people, the president promised repeatedly those plans would be grandfathered. You heard Ed say it. He said, if you've got a plan right now and Obamacare passes, you'll have a grandfathered plan. You will be able to keep that coverage and your doctor. Well, that's not true. The old grandfathering didn't work out at all because members of his administration saw to it. Now, some members of Congress today put some tough questions to one of the top Obamacare administrators on this whole thing. Watch it.
I am aware that there are issuers in states who are canceling their old plans, which were grandfathered in, and moving to new plans, which have to meet.
So what you just said about keeping your health care plan isn't true.
No, they could keep it. The issuers chose.
No, they can't keep it. They just got cancellation notices. You can't keep it. The president says you can't keep it. Why are you saying you can? I don't understand.
All right. Time has expired.
Joining me now, Jay Sekulow. He's the chief legal counsel of the American Center for Law and Justice. I mean, I don't want to do, broad rhetoric. To walk us through it. What did they do? Sure. It started with an Health and Human Services regulation. Kathleen Sebelius tightened the noose back in the summer of 2010, right after they passed the law. What did she do?
All right, so this is the HHS regulations, and in it she redefines the term grandfather with 6 preconditions that eliminate the grandfathering clause. So when the president says your old policy, if you like your policy, you'll keep it, there are 6 ways that gets voided, as simple as increasing the deductible, increasing the copay, a coverage switch, corporate mergers and acquisitions. So they void the grandfather clause at about 70% of, quote, those that would be grandfathered. HHS recognized through its own regulatory process that in fact would be gone. Then the Internal Revenue Service, Megan, which of course is required to enforce it, they issue a statement in July. It's called an IRB, or Internal Revenue Bulletin. That bulletin says exactly the same thing. It determines that grandfathering will now be very limited, and the reason the individuals are getting those cancellation notices, the White House is going to try to lay this at the foot of the insurance companies. These plans don't qualify under Obamacare's minimum standards. Therefore, they're being canceled. And you brought a very important question right at the beginning of the broadcast. What happens come the time when those policies are gone and these individuals can't get onto the, quote, Obamacare plan? Well, you can only have so many people qualify for Medicare or Medicaid because there's requirements in that. The reality is the regulatory regime put in place by the Obama administration, and the president, what's he going to say? He didn't know this either? I mean, this is a little bit absurd. Ed Henry's talking about the time has come in that last little clip we saw. The time has come for a reality check. It's not simply computer glitches. It's a regulatory scheme that does not work and is penalizing the American people, as you and I are here talking about this. This is a very, very, I think, damaging statement contained in the president's own administration's guidelines, and I don't know how they explain their way out of it, Megan.
So basically they said, look, don't worry. If we know some of the existing plans are not going to meet the Obamacare regulations, they're going to be grandfathered, not to worry. And then Kathleen Sebelius and her department come out right after they pass the law and say, except they won't be grandfathered if you change them basically in any way at all. I mean, if you change the period at the end of the first sentence of the policy, then the grandfathering is out. Forget about it. And that basically forced these insurers to take nobody had a grandfathered plan. 70% of the people on the individual market no longer have a grandfathered plan. Yeah. All those people are getting canceled today. That's why this is happening. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. And the fact of the matter is, I can't imagine, I'm sure the president's going to deny knowledge, as Jake Carney saying, well, he was in context. Here's the context. HHS, Health and Human Services, and the IRS in the regulatory process abandon your ability to keep the policy you like and the doctor you like, and instead they're forcing everyone, even the so-called grandfathered policies, onto Obamacare. And when that fails, Megan, watch out, it's going to be single payer, which was the plan all along, and it's looking more like that every single day. And that's another reason we're not getting real numbers on who is enrolled in this program.
And now they come out and they say it's the insurance company's fault. Well, it's their fault
Right.
because
blame
you
the insurance
because you
companies
made them.
We're trying to figure out how they're going to comply with this.
Jay, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, you just heard